This this week this week from GNC Week in Review, powered by GeekNewsCentral.com. LG is no longer in the smartphone market. You can no longer get an answer from Yahoo, and oh no, 500 million Facebook users' data leaked online. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week, and it's Friday, April 9th, 2021. My name is Kirk Corliss.
And I'm Scott Ertz.
And this is episode 86 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, proud partner of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live on gncweekly.com/live. So please be sure to say hello in chat or comment. Also be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. If you miss the live video, that's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a listener, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast where you can find on the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. If you have a comment, be it on social media or email, and those links can be found at gncweekly.com/connect. So we took a week off. So we're back with some news. And Scott, you wanted to bring up something at the top.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about a project that Plug Hits Productions has coming up in 2 weeks. We are working with Melissa Rivers, and on the night of the Oscars, we are going to be producing her red carpet coverage.
Woohoo!
I am so excited about this.
Oh, that's awesome.
So whatever platform, if you're watching us live, whatever platform you're on now, you'll probably be able to find us on that night. Just search for Melissa Rivers. We're going to be on Twitch. She's creating a Twitch channel.
Nice.
So Melissa Rivers will be on Twitch. We'll be on YouTube. And Facebook, and whatever Twitter is calling live video on Twitter these days.
Since Periscope is going away.
Yeah, gone the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So It's been gone 10 days now. So very excited about that. It's going to be awesome. A lot of fun. Michelle and I are putting a lot into this. I've got graphics and okay. So for those who follow our CES coverage, the computer that we use, the beast, as we call it, that we use for CES, isn't powerful enough for the show that we're doing. We're going to have 2 of them. So we're going to have 2 of the beast computer that we use for CES.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
nice.
Super excited about this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Awesome. I mean, Melissa Rivers and the editor-in-chief of Elle magazine. I've been in rarefied air lately. Last Friday, I got to spend some time with her, and it was just an absolute pleasure. She is as funny and as kind as her mother, which is wonderful. So awesome. I just want to make that announcement. Definitely check us out. That, of course, means that Friday I will probably be in technical rehearsals. So We'll see what happens.
Totally understandable. So definitely tune in. And when the Oscars come up and everything, I'll keep an eye out for it, and we'll also plug it all that when before it comes up. So awesome. Kudos.
Obviously, this is a big deal for us. We're very excited about it, but we definitely need the support of our listeners and viewers across all the platforms, because we want to make this big for her. We want it to look big for her, because it's her first time kind of branching out on her own and not, doing it under somebody else's name. She's not on E. She's not under this media company that she's been working with. She's doing it entirely on her own, and we really want to rock this for her. So
awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to tune in, and also if you need any of my help, I'll be more than happy to throw my help in any way that I can.
Excellent.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So with that, we're going to jump in. There's a lot of news that dropped this week, and we'll dive into LG in a little bit. But this is top story that dropped, reported earlier this morning, which was big news. Amazon has defeated the historic unionization attempt at its BHM1 fulfillment center in Bessemer, Alabama. According to CNBC, approximately 1,700 of the more than 3,000 employees who took part in the election voted against unionization as of this morning. Associated Press later also confirmed the result. Going into the contest, Amazon needed 1,608 ballots, or about 50% of the vote, to prevent the warehouse from unionizing. There is some things that are in contention, beginning with both Amazon and the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, or RWDSU, which seeks to represent the approximately 5,800 employees at BHM1, have challenged about 500 ballots. According to CNBC, Amazon contested about 300 of them, primarily based on eligibility. The National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, won't release the official tally of contested ballots until it completes counting all the votes. Those contested ballots could play a pivotal role in the results of this election should the vote get closer as the NLRB continues the counting process. And there's also legalities going on also. Yesterday, RWSU President Stuart Applebaum called on the NLRB to investigate claims that Amazon had pressured the U.S. Postal Service to install a mailbox outside of BHM1. He said in a statement, quote, Amazon has left no stone unturned in its efforts to gaslight its own employees. We won't let Amazon's lies, deception, and illegal activities go unchallenged, which is why we are formally filing charge against all of the egregious and blatantly illegal actions taken by Amazon during the union vote. Amazon refuted any claims it sought to unfairly influence the vote. The company said in a blog post published after the contest was called by the Associated Press, quote, it's easy to predict the union will say that Amazon won this election because we intimidate employees, but it's not true. Our employees heard far more anti-Amazon messages from union policymakers and media outlets than they heard from us, and Amazon didn't win. Our employees made a choice to vote against joining a union. I spoke with someone who works for Amazon about a couple weeks ago. I saw him at this Walmart near me where I live, and we were talking about the workers peeing in the bottles and all this other stuff. And I told him, and we're talking about the union vote, and he said that that's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. So I had a feeling that this was going to basically this wasn't going to happen for this one local center.
Yeah, this was never on the cards. There was a number of problems with what was going on. First, the employees in this facility make higher than the mean salary for the state.
Right.
And it's not necessarily high skill labor. So it's low skill. It's not low skill, but it's average skill labor, making more than the mean salary for the state. What did what was a union going to have as leverage to argue with Amazon? Well, we're going to go on strike. Fine. We can replace you tomorrow. It's not like you're rocket engineers. You're warehouse workers that are getting paid like rocket engineers in Alabama. So everybody wants your jobs. I dare you to go on strike. Because we can fill the warehouse tomorrow. Yeah. Shipments we could delay by 48 hours, but we could do it if we had to. So the union didn't have any leverage against Amazon. And the workers were basically saying, we're going to give 10% of our salary and union dues to a union to represent us with no leverage against a company who's paying us better than the majority of employers in the state.
Right.
There was no way this was going to happen.
Well, not to mention the hourly wage, but also from what I saw on their benefits, they're really good. I mean, they're exceptionally better than, to be honest, my benefits. And I've been with this company that I worked for 22 years. And
these guys are working in a warehouse.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, there was no way this was going to happen. The driver thing is a different issue that I have a feeling Amazon is going to address, figure out a way to address. Obviously, the company doesn't have control over where there's rest stops, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to build a network of rest areas across the country, private bathrooms in every state on the interstate. That's not going to happen. But yeah, I think they'll pull in the hours a little bit to allow for better stop capabilities. But that had nothing to do with this.
No, it didn't. No.
This was a warehouse in Alabama. And the fact that a warehouse in Alabama has 3,000 employees or 5,800 employees. Ooh, that's a warehouse.
The Amazon Fulfillment Center near me in Robbinsville, New Jersey, it is huge. It is, at least I saw one of the tour when they showed a couple of video to do a tour, and it's like the size of like 4 or 5 football fields. It's no joke. It's huge.
Yeah,
it is massive.
We've got one over in Lakeland.
Yeah, it's like,
I think it's Lakeland.
And the guys I spoke with, who actually I used to work with him at Target many years ago, and he's happy. I mean, we were talking about the union thing, and he said the people that he knows won't do it. And again, it's not just the wage, but again, the benefits, and also, I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't working the company I'm working for, I would definitely, in a heartbeat, work for Amazon. In a heartbeat.
I mean, they take care of their employees. And the facility that they wanted to build in New York.
Yeah.
The average salary there was going to be $100,000. I am a senior software engineer and I barely reach $100,000. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They take care of their employees.
Yep.
You want to throw a mess over Walmart? Okay. We can have a conversation about that. But throwing a mess about Amazon, I think you're in the wrong neighborhood, buddy.
Yeah.
This union did not know what they were getting themselves into, because they thought that they were going to be able to stoke anti-Amazon rhetoric inside the company. And the employees are like, are you kidding? We love it here. We're some of the best paid people that don't work for NASA or Lockheed in the state. What are we doing?
Yeah, I was surprised to know that when you look at, you have to look at both sides, of both sides of the coin, and I can see if Amazon did not pay their employees well, didn't have benefits, didn't have, again, the benefits. I saw a lot of their employee, I'm sorry, not their job functions or what have you, or their career, excuse me. When you look at their entire, I mean, it's lengthy, and I can see if it was limited wages, no benefits, because I used to work for Walmart many years ago, and their benefits suck. But honestly, I was working there for 4, 5+ years, and their benefits suck, and the wages suck as well. But so I can see I can see if Amazon did nothing, then maybe yes, it would be smart to fight for getting better wages and better benefits and things of that nature. But in the opposite, they're saying that they're this big bad company. It was just mind-boggling. And when I saw that drop, and I was like, that's why I'm going to put it in the lineup. That was like talked about literally for the past few weeks, and this announcement this morning, solidified it. So
yeah, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. The thing I'm most surprised by is the fact that it was this close.
I know.
Just as a note, I'm looking at salarylist.com, and the low end salary listed on pages and pages of roles at Amazon is $40,700 a year.
That sounds about right.
as like an entry level nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
40 grand's a lot. That's a good salary, especially for somebody starting out.
Absolutely.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Again, if it was me, and I wasn't working this company, I mean, obviously I'm starting bottom, but excuse me. But yeah, if it was me, I would do it. I mean, they encourage, they promote within, they give you different opportunities to grow within the company, because the company I'm in, I'm stuck in this job, this rep job for God knows how long, and I'm just so ready to like just say, deuces. I'm so ready to working from home for a year and a half. That's a whole side of the story, but yeah, I think that the way it was portrayed in the news, how it was so one-sided, but they didn't look at everything, was questionable at best. And I think it was just but so this is historic. I've never heard of a company like Amazon getting that they want a union, and there's some workers that want it. That's great and all, but also, the old saying with the vote majority outweighs it all. So, I'm sure they'll try again, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
An entry level development engineer starts at $86K. That's 50% higher than we started our starters at. Mm-hmm. We started them at like 60, I think. Wow. Yeah, they pay well.
Yeah. Maybe there's something to think about in the next couple of years, maybe.
I am very happy where I am.
Also too with when you work at Amazon, you get Amazon for you get like a huge discount as well. So,
well, sometimes when they're a sponsor, you do too.
Good point. Right. Hashtag sponsor.
Because at the very least, you get a commission on your own sales.
There you go. There you go. All right, other news this week. After 12 years of being an Android OEM, LG announced late Sunday night that it's officially quitting the smartphone market. It's going to close up on the entire business by July 31st this year. LG has been preparing the public for the decision for some time. LG's mobile division has had 23 consecutive money-losing quarters, and its last profitable year was in 2014. In January 2020, LG Electronics then brand new CEO Kwon Bong Seok, well, if I mispronounced this guy's name, I apologize, promised that the troublesome division will be profitable by 2021. LG was warning the
little did he know what he was about to be up against,
right,
with the world shutting down for a year.
Mm-hmm. LG was warning the public that it'll have to make a quote cold judgment about the future of the mobile division. Local media reports claimed LG explored selling the division but couldn't find a buyer. LG's last smartphone, called the LG Rollable, the flexible display smartphone, was announced at CES 2021. I didn't even know they had announced it this year.
They actually had videos and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Operation.
Oh, okay. Because I totally
in their virtual booth.
Oh, okay. I must have missed the press release for it. I think I saw it. I don't. Well, it's what, 5 months ago. While the expanding display mechanism was identical to concepts and prototypes from other companies, LG promised that the phone will actually launch in early this year. There was a press release. LG's press release did not disclose what will happen to the rollable, but rumors are saying the phone might be canceled. Starting circulating almost immediately after it was announced. Because I know
it's gone.
And I think with the buzz at CES 2020, last year, and we were there for the press conference, and there was a lot of hype for their phones, a big hype, and there wasn't, and there was like, and with products to come out and like make announcements, and there's no guarantee that's going to be out that year
or ever,
right, or ever. So, but there was like a big buzz of these two. I can't remember the names of the phones off the top of my head, but you know, I was taking some video and shooting some photos of it when I could, because there was like a mad crush of press there, and they were hyped up. They were like literally like their jaws were hitting the floor. Like this was these phones were the greatest thing since sliced bread, and those phones were selling at a little over $1,000, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't hear much about them, and then they had the LG Wing, I think it was. Yeah. And that didn't last a whole lot.
The comedy phone.
Right.
Because there was no way that wasn't the weirdest thing ever.
Right. Holy, I mean, and it's like,
and this crazy idea we've got. No thanks.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like I was.
Are you under attack?
No. No. Okay, for those.
It definitely just sounded like a bomb was dropped. But like a cartoon bomb.
No. For those who are listening on audio, and listening on audio,
wherever you are,
right, wherever you are, right.
You heard it.
You heard
Everybody
it.
Heard it.
Right.
Everybody thought his picture's about to go out.
Take cover.
The fact that there was no look of panic in your eyes.
No, because I'm used to it. And for those who are new to the podcast, and where I record my where I live in Hamilton, it's my bedroom, and my windows are open, you know, to get the breeze and everything. So occasionally you'll hear a loud truck go by, or you'll hear music go by, or in this case, you hear a bottle rocket go off.
Okay, so it was a bomb of sorts, just a very, very small toy one. Okay,
right, it was a bottle rocket.
Okay,
right across the street,
which isn't explosive. I mean, it is still using gunpowder to do what it does.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly.
All right.
And for the record, it was across the street, and so it's.
So you're not setting them off out of your window, is what you're saying?
Exactly. So for those, for those who are watching right now or listening, I know that doesn't matter because you're listening, but if you're watching on live right now, or if you're catching the replay later, so we didn't see me being phased. You know, that's just a normal thing where I live. You know, so
weird.
Right. A lot of weird stuff. A lot of weird things happen in the evening and late, or well, this is 8:24. So yeah, a lot of things happen in the early evening hours of this where I live. So,
but none of them quite as weird as the LG Wing. I'm gonna be honest, because that thing was so weird. We dedicated like half an hour of one of our shows to talking about how weird it was and how it didn't stand a chance on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And how LG had lost their minds,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything they put out is some experimental weird thing, but they never stick with it long enough for people to care, right? You know, the V4 and the V6 and the V8 were all had their own gimmick. None of them carried on the gimmick of the previous one. So people who liked their thing couldn't follow it through. So at some point you're like, well, what am I going to do? Right? I like the thing, but it's never going to exist again. So why put any time into it? And now we're guaranteed that nobody is ever going to build software to take advantage of this bizarre screen design.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even more useless than it was when we said this was the dumbest design ever. They have said, we're done. Bye-bye. So
And the funny part is, and I think I saw someone on a YouTuber is using this to shoot videos with it.
Well, if somebody gets, in fairness, from what I understand, for video, it's super cool because it gives you the playback, the preview at the top, but then it
Right.
also gives you all your controls underneath, similar to if you had a camcorder, which I'm not gonna lie, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
And if you pair it with the Elgato software, where you can use it as a webcam, boy, it seems like that would make for a pretty awesome webcam. But it's $1,000 device, and I can go get the new Razer webcam for $100. So priorities.
The trade-off. But also, I noticed though when I saw the YouTuber using it, surprisingly, it had really good. The quality of the camera was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But also I noticed though too, like LG is really known for more like their appliances, their TVs were extraordinary. That I saw.
I just added one to the office upstairs, specifically for Melissa Rivers. I've been a big fan of WebOS. Anybody who has followed my career knows that I was at the Sprint store on opening day of the first Palm device. We were all in Miami for a convention. We left the convention, went to a Sprint store, bought our Palms, then went back to the convention. I've been a big fan of WebOS since day one. So I'm like, oh, I need a new TV. LG it is.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing where they've been known primarily for their appliances or TVs, but the LG, but their phones, that hasn't really put. I've seen in the wild. Maybe you have as well. I've seen more people in the wild where I have a Google Pixel, which we're going to get into that later. Dissect it. And iPhones, but I've never seen, like, there's a lot of people have Samsung, Samsung. But as far as actually in the wild over the past few years, I've never seen anyone have an LG phone.
I've got an LG development device.
Okay, well, President Cup excluded, but
I've never used it as a daily driver.
Right.
I've used a lot of devices as daily drivers. I rode Windows Phone until the wheels fell off. And still use the devices for testing. But I've used Samsung devices, iPhones, the Surface Duo. So I'm willing to go weird, right? Because I'm using the Surface Duo as a daily driver. I'm willing to go weird. But yeah, I've never in my career used an LG as a daily driver.
Yeah. I haven't. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, so I knew but I think, but the writing was on the wall for the past couple of years, and I just knew. And like I said, when I saw that when they had the press conference, and they're announcing, the different TVs, and they were making a big splash of these two phones, and I mean, it was great, but I didn't. But it was like, it was January, whatever date it was, then February, March, and then I haven't heard about those phones. Then they come out with the wing. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know.
Yikes.
I don't know. That if they had a couple of years ago, if they had decided that they weren't going to try and be Samsung, that they were going to try and be ZTE, right? Or Huawei. They're essentially the same company because they're both fairly government controlled. So, two names on the same thing. But when the Huawei ban went into effect the first time under Obama, and then came back under Trump, if LG had said there's a gap in the market and just focused on being the best inexpensive Android manufacturer in the space, I think they could have done it, because I remember in my old Radio Shack days, kind of before Android and in the early Android days, in the Windows Mobile days, the Windows Mobile 5, Windows Mobile 6, LG was a beast. I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago. LG was an absolute beast in the early days. Them and Motorola and HTC absolutely owned the space, especially with Windows Mobile 6. And then Android came about, and HTC said, we're going to own this thing. And LG started to fall a little behind. But if you go back to the day the iPhone launched, which is a pretty good delineator, right, between consumer smartphones and business smartphones. The owners of the space, the day the iPhone launched, were BlackBerry, Palm, HTC, Motorola, and LG. Well, how many of them are in the space today? Oh, none of them.
Right.
I mean, Motorola is technically still around, but Lenovo does not try to do anything major with it in the US. They do outside the US, right? But Lenovo doesn't focus on Motorola in the US because Motorola lost its name in the US. So BlackBerry's gone. Palm is completely gone, except for that bonkers little dumbass companion thing that they tricked Verizon into carrying. So
I remember that one.
So Palm is gone, and it's with WebOS. HTC is now part of Google, so they still exist, but not under HTC. Motorola is kind of a half-asser at this point, and LG just threw in the towel. So nobody who was at the top of the game the day the iPhone launched survived that launch.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of I had BlackBerry, then it slowly died. I was a big fan of Motorola, and then when it went from slowly getting didn't have the greatest lineup of products, excuse me, and then
they didn't survive the switch away from physical keyboards very well.
No, they didn't,
because the Q, one of the best smartphones ever. The Moto Q, I've got one somewhere still.
Why am I not surprised?
An absolutely amazing device. It had a great keyboard. It ran Windows Mobile 6 really well with a custom UI on it, and it worked like a beast. I sold a lot of those at Radio Shack on all three carriers. So, I mean, it was a beast of a phone, but they did not transition into all touch very well. Yeah. And that was the big thing, right? HTC was a beast. Palm was a beast, but all of them were about physical keyboards. BlackBerry, all physical keyboards. Nobody survived that iPhone launch. Yeah. Which is a shame because I've had all of those devices.
Yeah, I was Motorola, the original Droid up to the Droid 2, and then I think I had I had the Droid phone 1, 2. Oh, I can't remember which ones I had, and then I went up to the Pixels, and
it stayed.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, the modern Pixels are made by HTC, essentially.
Right.
Right, because like 80% of HTC's phone division went to Google, and that team is building the Pixels today. So technically, it's an HTC phone.
Yeah, but I'm still loving them, and there's a story on about Pixel a little bit later.
Some of my all-time favorite devices were HTCs, the PPC 66, 67, 68, 69, 6950. I had all of them. And I loved all of those devices. The day the 6950 cracked was basically the day we went to Palm. The whole company went that day and stayed with WebOS and then on to Windows Phone until the wheels came off of that one.
Okay. Well, when if there's we can probably get a sound effect later, and where the taps bugle, or the bugle of taps.
It was probably one of the original sound effects on my board that I replaced. It seems pretty likely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely should be inserted here.
Speaking of deaths, right? Speaking of product deaths,
right? Sorry, but segue. Good segue. And that would be Yahoo Answers. They're shutting down on May 4th, and that's ironic because the Star Wars anniversary is on May 4th. So,
right?
How does that tie in? Okay, well, whatever.
This is going to come as a big shock to a lot of people who thought Yahoo Answers shut down years ago.
Right. Yep. So they're shutting. So that's the day that the Yahoo Answers website start redirecting to Yahoo homepage, and all the platforms archives will apparently cease to exist. This platform been operating since 2005. Yahoo, which is now part of Verizon Media Group, following the company's sale to telecom for nearly $5 billion in 2017, announced a change at the top of the Yahoo Answers homepage. The message links to a FAQ, which details the timeline of the shutdown starting April 20th, which is 11 days from now. The platform will no longer accept new submissions. Users will have, will also have until June 30th to request their data or be inaccessible after that. That includes, quote, all user-generated content, including your questions list, questions, answer list, answers, and any images that Yahoo is saying, but also, quote, you won't be able to download other users' content, questions, or answers. A note was sent to active Yahoo Answers members, providing a little more detail as to why Yahoo is shutting down the platform, including that, quote, it has become less popular over the years, and the company, quote, decided to shift our resources away from the product to, quote, focus on products that better serve members. And we'll have a link up in the show notes on the full statement, a link on the FAQ, and if you want to reach out to their team, so we'll have a link up in the show notes in the full statement. And if you have content you want to take down, questions, things of that nature, we'll have a link up in the show notes that you can check out on that.
And they can make whatever claims they want about the reason they're shutting down. We all know that the reason they're shutting down is because Yahoo has always struggled. The transition to Verizon Media Group, or whatever it's called tomorrow. By the time you're listening to this, it might have another new name.
Right.
Because it seems like every time you blink, it's got another new name. I will continue to call it the Verizon Nostalgia Unit. Because that's where both Yahoo and AOL reside.
Yep.
But they have struggled. The transition into Verizon's ownership did not make things better. The best producing brands under Yahoo got sold or spun off nearly immediately, leaving them with just the garbage. Which was such... Why did they let Flickr get away?
Well, actually,
when they kept Yahoo Answers. I mean, honestly, Answers.com usurped Yahoo Answers a decade ago. And I am surprised that Marissa didn't shut down Yahoo Answers when she was at the top years ago. To be perfectly honest, I was surprised that this one survived her chopping block, because Yahoo Groups, Yahoo Chat, all got axed under Marissa because they were all garbage. They had all been usurped by other things. Nobody used Yahoo Messenger anymore. Even Microsoft, that kind of was the thing that put people aside, had 3 platforms since they stole Yahoo's thunder.
But at one time it was viable, and for me, when it comes to, because I had AOL back in the day, and I'm one of the proud owners of the obscene amount of discs I've gotten a mail.
I've got a box of them in the office.
Yep,
They make fantastic coasters.
But and as far as like Yahoo, at one time it was like the place to go.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I never used Yahoo. I was an AOL fanboy for like from the jump, and I was like static. I would go to the message boards. I used AOL Messenger. I mean, I was all in. And then Yahoo came along, and they had and I did take a peek and look at Yahoo Answers, and I'm like, some of the questions were like bizarre.
Oh, see. If Yahoo wanted to have been a success with Yahoo Answers in the last 5 years or so, if they had leaned into the idea of it as like the Reddit board roast me, just Yahoo Answers is Reddit's roast me board, because people would ask dumb questions.
Yes.
Like one of my all-time favorites says, "Hey atheists, how is it that cavemen survived the asteroid but dinosaurs didn't?" And the top answer was social distancing. They stayed 65 million years apart. And people were so good at roasting stupid questions that if they had just leaned into it as a comedy platform, I think they could have done something with it. But they wanted it to be serious.
Well, here's some of the ones that I found odd. One of them was, how do you get YouTube to come to film you? I've been calling YouTube all day to come film me, but no answer. How do other people get their videos up there? I have some really funny stuff, but they won't come.
One of my all-time favorites. People ask that all the time, and I'm pretty sure. And this is my point with the fact that Yahoo Answers is basically just one big Reddit roast me board.
Right.
I'm certain that the person who asked that question knew what they were doing. I'm certain that question was asked in comedy, looking for a great answer. And I bet if you go through those answers, there are some fantastic roasting answers to that stupid question.
Wait, here's another one. Will my laptop get heavier if I put more files on it?
Oh, wonderful. I mean,
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
At the atomic level, a little bit.
Right.
But not in a way that's measurable by modern science.
There's I honestly, I mean, there's like, and wait, there's another one. I just saw it a second ago. How do I turn off caps lock? Wait, and it says they're asking additional details. I'm just gonna shorten this up a little bit. Where the hell is the caps lock key? It's dark because there was a power outage and I'm on my laptop. I hope I don't have to spend $8,000. Please say you're kidding. Well, if I have to, I have to. So tomorrow I'll go out and buy HDD thingy.
Oh no!
See, these are some of the things I've seen back in the day.
Yeah, and yesterday. That's the thing. It's always been like this, but it's gotten more like this since Answers.com has moderators, and Yahoo Answers hasn't cared for years, and so it has just turned into a roast me board, and it's fun. If you know what it is you're getting into. If you go there to ask a serious question, you're not going to get a good answer. Go to Answers.com for that. If you want to know the best way to roast a duck, go ask on Answers.com. But if you want to ask what's the difference between a turkey and a male chicken? Yep. Yahoo Answers is the place to go. People are going to kill you there. It's gonna be a blast.
Well, there's one more, but I'm gonna save it, and when we get off the air, because this one's really. I'll say I'll tell you when we get off the air.
I can't wait.
Because it's well, yeah, I'll tell you.
If you're listening and you want to know what the thing is, tweet Kirk Corliss.
Yeah, or if you want to know what your tweet at me. And if you want to know what it is, tweet at us, gnc-weekly.com, or at Kirk Corliss on Twitter. So yeah, this is something that's not good for the for air, and it's not. It's
because we still have standards and practices to deal with, and we have Yahoo community or YouTube community guidelines to deal with.
Exactly. So it's NFSW. So it's or
NSFW.
Right.
They're NFTs. No, that's something else.
Right, something else, right.
So throw out letters.
Right. All right. So meanwhile, other news this week before I start to giggle even more. According to security researcher Alon Gal, it appears that the personal data of over 500 million Facebook users have managed to make their way online.
Including Zuckerberg.
Right. And this includes things like phone numbers, Facebook IDs, your full name, location, birthdays, bios, home addresses, and more. According to Insider, they have since verified this data is accurate, and at least based on the sample that they got and checked for themselves. Facebook has also since verified this and claimed that this information was actually scraped from a vulnerability that patched back in 2019.
Which means that it's older data.
And exactly. However, at the same time, there's a question about how often do we change our phone numbers, email, or home addresses anyway. Speaking to Insider, Gail says, quote, a database of that size containing the private information, such as phone numbers, a lot of Facebook users would certainly lead to bad actors taking advantage of the data to perform social engineering attacks or hacking attempts. So there's a good site.
Social engineering.
Right. And there's a site, haveibeenpwned.com. That's a good way to check to see if you've been pawned or you're on the Facebook, it's on the dark web. I checked.
Has this data set made it to him yet?
Good question. I don't know.
Usually he lists on the website when he gets a new data set. So we'll have to check it.
Yep.
But it's a great site.
Yep.
This guy does it completely because, which I love. He takes the time and the resources to build this thing to keep people safe. I mean, it's what security researchers do. So, you know, it is what it is. Okay. Is that is that you?
That's my email. I'm not going to put my email in here, but yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to change my my passwords.
Yeah. 14 breaches. My stuff is out there in a bunch of them. But the ones that I'm in are like little things. They're not like anything where passwords are out or anything like that. So thank goodness on that. But yeah, so this is a great site. People should use it just in general. To be perfectly honest, everybody should run their data through here annually just to see. Wow, 360 million MySpace accounts. Oh yeah, I remember that one. I remember thinking, whoa. What are you going to get from MySpace accounts?
I think one of them is I have a MySpace account too, so which I haven't used and God knows since.
So one of the things that I'm always interested in is like the Facebook data there, right? It said 509 million Facebook accounts, but he has several breaches from Facebook in this collection. So it's interesting how it seems like it's always the same set of data with almost exclusively overlap data. every time it happens, because it's not expanding, right? The number hasn't gotten that much bigger. There's 500 million Facebook users were exposed in this one. There's 509 total exposed on the site. So it's literally like the same accounts that keep getting hit every single time, and everybody else seems to be safe. It's baffling how that happens. Makes me wonder if maybe there's a collection of servers in one country or one region that has different security, or has somebody inside that's able to get data out. It's interesting.
Yeah, it didn't give this news about, didn't give the full breakdown of its what country, or the U.S. or
you don't want it. You don't want to do that because you don't want to expose where there might be holes in security.
Right.
It's the same reason why I think that the Google disclosure policy, when they find breaches in somebody else's code, I find that inappropriate, because it's not always as easy to fix as their 30 days that they give you. There's a kernel flaw in Windows. We've let Microsoft know the 30-day timer has started. What? There's no way they're going to fix a kernel level security error in 30 days and get it out to everybody. But anyway, I'm more on the side of actually protecting data, not making it look like you're helping. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely check out ivanpwned.com. That's a good resource to check out. Definitely do that. All right, next up, a California man has been indicted for stealing Shopify customer data. Speaking of data breaches, with the help of 2 company employees, according to the indictment and reporting from TechCrunch. Tassilo Heinrich, if I'm pronouncing his name, I apologize, paid Shopify support team members to illicitly access data from merchants who use the payment processing platform. The employees sent screenshots or Google Drive links with customers' names, addresses, purchase histories, and other personal information. Heinrich also allegedly resold that data to fraudsters and used it to set up copycat merchant pages. Heinrich is charged with identity theft and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. His 2 co-conspirators based in Portugal and the Philippines were not charged, and Shopify didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. So good on.
They're never going to respond because they tried to pretend that it didn't happen in the first place originally. The fact that the people who actually stole the data aren't being charged annoys me to no end. But I was wondering if they were going to catch the mastermind on this one. There was always the possibility that the mastermind was going to get away and the pawns were the ones that were going to go down for it. But I'm glad that they figured out that. My guess is they turned the pawns and got them to turn over who the mastermind was in exchange for immunity.
Well, that'll be one of the. I imagine that'll be one of the deals they probably.
Yeah, that's almost certainly how they figured out who he was. Is they gave these 2 immunity to turn him over. But this was a big deal. This affected a lot of Shopify accounts. 22 major Shopify retailers or something like that. I mean, that's a lot of users whose data was exposed through this. And what did it end up with? It ended up getting resold, right? So you've got people with malicious intent now with phone numbers, possibly credit card information, all kinds of things. And I know, but I'm going to do it like I always do. Privacy is your solution to things like this, because the only thing they could do is buy from that store again. And that is why I use it exclusively for online, except apparently for airline tickets or something. There's something that I'm not able to use it for because they recognize it as a prepaid debit card. Essentially, it shows up as the same as a green dot. So they're like, no, that's not going to happen here. Thank you, but no thank you. Which I can understand.
Right.
Trying to buy a plane ticket with a green dot credit card. I get it. But yeah, that's anything you can do to protect yourself.
Right.
you should do.
Absolutely.
Privacy is a good way to do it, using secure but wider variable passwords is a good way to do it. Having an email address that is for things like shopping versus using your regular one's a good idea. I've got one exclusively for shopping, so that phishing stuff isn't going to come to me. You're whatever. Yeah, no, sorry. No, it's not. This is only for online shopping. So no, my whatever, it hasn't been compromised. Thank you though.
Yeah. And it's plugitslive.com/privacy.
Yeah, I think that should get you there. I think f5live.tv/privacy gets you there too. But yeah, for sure, plugitslive.com/privacy. You get $5 for signing up for free once you add your account to it. It's free money. How can you turn down free money? And it doesn't cost you anything to use it. Once I learned about this, I learned this from a Disney Parks blog or a vlog on YouTube, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And yeah, great relationship there now.
Cool. I'll definitely have to. I know you've been talking about it. Definitely have something I'm definitely going to check out as well. All right, cool. All right, excellent. All right, in other news, T-Mobile had its Un-carrier Next event held on Wednesday. Had plenty of news. There's a lot to go through. We're going to try to get this through. First, they have their T-Mobile's home internet. They've been working on that for years. The company has been talking about using 4G LTE and 5G to provide a home broadband alternative for a while. And on Wednesday, the program finally graduated from a pilot stage to a real offering. Available starting at $60 a month with autopay. The T-Mobile says users can expect average download speeds of 100 megabits for, quote, most new customers. The data is unlimited. There are no caps where speeds will be slowed. Excuse me. And T-Mobile touts that taxes are already included with no additional fees for equipment such as the 4G, 5G modem that doubles the router. You don't need to be a T-Mobile wireless user to sign up for the service, with the carrier also not forcing you to sign up for a contract. If you cancel the service, you just need to return the modem back to the company. Those with home internet will also be able to get a $10 discount on YouTube TV or Philo for streaming television. Well, I noticed that they no longer having their T-Mobile TV. Wednesday's launch brings the service to 30 million, quote, eligible households across the 48 contiguous states, plus Hawaii. T-Mobile says it's going after urban areas that have multiple providers, as well as those in rural communities that have limited competition. Of the 30 million eligible households, the company says that 10 million are in rural America, adding that it plans to continue expand access. Dal Draper, T-Mobile's executive vice president of emerging products, tells CNET that the company plans for home internet speeds and household eligibility to, quote, continue to grow significantly in 2021 and 2022. They also revealed that starting on April 18th, they'll be automatically upgrading existing users with either T-Mobile or Sprint shared data plans unlimited. Excuse me. It says that it won't change the monthly price, with a switch just removing the worry of how much high-speed data you will use before speeds slow down. It's called the Great Unlimited Trade-Up. It's basically where the carrier is moving those on these limited data plans to its Magenta Essentials offering without raising the price for their monthly service. As with before, access to T-Mobile's growing 5G network remains included. The carrier says that those switching from a tiered data plan on Verizon or AT&T will be able to switch to T-Mobile and get this deal at a rate that is, quote, the same or better than what they are paying for limited data buckets. They're also introducing a great free 5G upgrade where it'll swap any old working phone for a new Samsung Galaxy A32 5G. The company says it will accept any phone as far as promotion, from flip phones and sidekicks to old iPhones, Blackberries, or Palms. So as long as they are in working condition, power on, and are without cracked screens or word damage. T-Mobile says it plans to add 7,500 new jobs over the next 2 years and will build, quote, hundreds of new retail stores in small towns all across America. The carrier, T-Mobile, touts that the new stores are responsible for, quote, 5,000 direct new jobs, plus, quote, thousands more in construction and services to build and maintain them. A new initiative it calls Hometown Experts will add 2,500 people in 2,500 small towns. T-Mobile says that these, quote, experts will function as, quote, one-person store, but without a traditional storefront. This includes selling devices, selling services, and providing help connecting people to a network. John Freer, executive vice president T-Mobile, says this program is designed to bring the carrier to areas where it'll be, quote, tough economically to open a full-fledged retail location. He says, quote, this is an innovative way to bring T-Mobile into those smaller communities, just without the cost of landlords and leases and all those things. He also adds that these employees won't have to worry about store inventory on their own and will instead be connected to, quote, nearby stores and be able to access the inventory there. The positions will also be treated as full T-Mobile employees, which is great. And noting, he also notes that excuse me, they have the same benefits that I do. And the company says that the first 1,000 of these new expert positions have already been posted on this website. So T-Mobile is bringing out a lot of the great stuff over on this event on Wednesday. Great news.
It is a shame that their service is not available here, even though I can confirm for sure, based on the status bar on my personal device here, that 5G is available. Not in the room I'm sitting in, but if I as soon as I walk outside of the cave that is the studio, the weird electromagnetic box that this room is, with as many lights and cameras and screens as are pointed at me right this second, I'm surprised that I'm not cooked a little bit while I'm in here. But 5G is available here, but the T-Mobile at Home is not available here yet. I think is interesting.
Yeah, the coverage around here with here is not that great. And speaking of, I know my mom is not watching because she doesn't watch YouTube or know YouTube, or she knows I have a podcast, but she has an old flip phone that I bought her at least 20 plus years, and how
do you find batteries to keep it on?
I have to. Well, I bought her a charger. I can't remember. I think it was recently I got her a new charger. I think a year ago. It still works. It's an old. Impressive. It's a Virgin. Right. It's a Virgin phone. That I bought.
So it's a Dish Network phone.
Right.
Isn't that a weird thing to say?
Mm-hmm. How it all
Virgin Mobile is owned by Dish Network today. Weird.
And how it ties in. Yeah. So I've been telling her, I said, Mom, I would, it's time to, may want to change up. And she goes, Kirk, don't get me a smartphone. I don't want it.
I'll tell you that the modern jitterbugs, my aunt has one. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty impressed. The front is very simple, very not smart, but it still runs on Android and has the Play Store, so you could add little features. And no, they're not a sponsor. Just throwing that out there. My aunt has one. Okay. And now she can't use it to control the smart lock I got her, which is annoying. Nor can she use it to monitor the security system. Also not a sponsor, but good friends that we got from Energizer Connect from CES this year. She can't use it for that. So there are limitations on what it can do, but I'd imagine the podcasts could be used.
Yeah. And this is a funny story, and I'm not throwing my mom under the bus, but I'm going to do it anyway. When, she was very, she's, when they got her phone from Virgin Mobile and, set up the security questions and the phone number and activation and everything. So one day I called her, see how she was doing. And I didn't hear back from her. I left her a voicemail. Now we all know majority of folks that listen to this podcast watch us. know what voicemail is. When I call a cell phone. So I called her, got her voicemail, left a message. Hey, it's Kirk. I'm just giving you a call. Blah 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 blah. So I went to visit her a day or two later, and she looks at her phone. And she goes, Kirk, why is there an envelope on the top of my phone?
Got it.
So you know what that means.
Yeah, I see where we are. Well, there's another one on the number 1 key on your keypad. So press and hold that for a moment.
Right.
That was actually what I used to tell Virgin Mobile customers all the time at Radio Shack. What does the envelope mean? Well, there's one here too. Mm-hmm. So press and hold that for a few seconds, and it'll come up on the screen and tell you what it's doing.
Right.
Once it does, let go.
Right. So I told her that was right. For those who doesn't know, and if you don't know, then you're probably in a dark cave somewhere. It was voicemail. So I said, Mom, that's I called you out there voicemail, and I showed her how to set up the voicemail, and one of her security questions, this was years ago, was like, who is your favorite artist? She put in Johnny Mathis.
Have you changed that security question, or did you just let everybody know her security answer?
She's with Verizon Wireless now, so it's
okay. Got it. I just wanted to make sure.
No,
that we didn't have to call up the I've been pwned guy.
No.
Let him know that there's one more data breach.
No, I'm saying I'm happy to say this. It's not gonna get breached. It was
all right. So you did not just dox your own mother.
I did not dox my mother. No. No, she's with Verizon Wireless. She's on my plan. This was years ago with Virgin Mobile. So I didn't dox my mother. But yeah, so so it's like I was I'm nudging her in to getting a phone, and because apparently some of the features, but texting, she's a whiz at. I mean, when she texts, she texts in shorthand like the best of them. I'm looking at sometimes like, wow, my mom texted this. So, but no, but yeah, so hopefully I don't know. I think Verizon offers the similar thing about trading it in, but I'm definitely going to have to look into it. All right. So speaking of YouTube and Facebook, they're still the most dominant social media platforms in the United States. But Facebook is no longer growing. This is from one of the findings from a report on how Americans use social media from the Pew Research Center. According to a report, YouTube and Facebook are the most widely used platforms, but of the two, only YouTube is still growing, increasing its share of users from 73% of adults in 2019 to 81% in 2021. Facebook numbers, meanwhile, remained unchanged from 2019 at 69%.
Nice.
Which, to be honest with you, again, I'm not on Facebook a lot for like maybe a hot minute. Pew writing in its report, quote, Facebook's growth has leveled off over the last 5 years, but it remains one of the most widely used social media sites among adults in the United States. Flat growth wasn't unique to just Facebook either. According to Pew, the only other platform, speaking of Reddit, to see statistically significant growth since 2019 was Reddit, which grew from 11% in 2019 to 18% in 2021.
Wow.
And I know what part of the reason why with GameStop and all that. Pew says, quote, this represents a broader trend that extends beyond the past 2 years, in which the rapid adoption of most of these sites and apps seen in the last decade has allowed. And I think that with the growth with Reddit, again, I believe honestly that with GameStop and with all that's been going on for the whole year.
They also were the last platform to embrace content censorship.
Mm-hmm.
The Donald, for example, was a very active group up until things went sideways, and also Joe Biden's campaign used it during the campaign. So, I mean, they were the last one to really embrace content or context censorship. So they were able to grow among both groups, right? Among both camps. Whereas Facebook has seen a huge back down in conservatives for sure. So even if they had theoretical user growth, they've had a lot of user loss as well in the last year. So, but YouTube is best known for its censorship. So it's interesting to see it growing because there's not really an alternative, right? That's the thing. There's not another choice for YouTube. Yes, I mean Vimeo, but no. I like Vimeo's platform better, and it still doesn't matter because it's not where anybody goes. There's Daily Motion, but that's mostly if you're just trying to pirate copyrighted content. So I understand why YouTube is growing, and I understand why Facebook is not.
Yeah, and I agree because again, when I'm on Facebook, excuse me, I'm on in the morning for about maybe a half hour tops. YouTube, I'm more on it prevalent because I'm watching a lot. I watch different channels, hours, plugins, and so on and so forth. I mean, which I find very interesting. But yeah, with YouTube, I mean, excuse me, on Facebook, it's like over the years of people like, over the years, it's like they're going to a lot more other sites. Back in the day, Facebook was like the thing to go to when you connect with your friends and and family and what have you. But now it's like I've noticed. I don't know if you noticed or not, but excuse me, the Facebook groups have exploded. I've never. I mean, there's like groups from from one spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
And I know you and I are on different groups, and what we had, and also just for disclosure's sake, our podcast is GNC Week in Review. It's on page. It's not a group. So definitely, we're on live with Facebook Live on it. So you can put your comments there and things about nature on there as well. But yeah, I've been noticing that the Facebook groups have expanded over the past 1-2 years.
Yeah. They've put a lot of energy behind it. Facebook said that they wanted to emphasize the groups over the next couple of years, and they have. It's one of the default tabs at the bottom on the mobile app. Now, the bottom tabs shift based on your usage, so you may not have it down there anymore. I have the marketplace and dating tend to switch out with groups sometimes for me, but it's one of the default ones now. It didn't used to be. So they've definitely put a lot of energy into that, and that's something that I like. It's a way to get off of your main feed, which over the last couple of years has turned into mostly political garbage.
Right.
And that's coming from somebody who spends a good portion of their day listening to political content. Most of Facebook's feed is political garbage, and it's the reason why I don't spend any time on it anymore.
Yeah.
But I'll open it, and go over to the groups tab. I get right off the feed.
Yep.
Because I never want to see anything that shows up in my feed. And I'll tell you, I love my friends. Don't care what you're posting on Facebook. In fairness, never did. I never cared what you were up to. It's really the reason why I really don't care about Twitter. I don't care. I tried to do Foursquare for a while, but I don't care what you're up to. I definitely don't care what I'm up to. I know where I am. I don't care that you know where I am.
I know that I was with Foursquare that I was using that a lot. And there was like the latest thing, be the king of the place where you're at. And where I work at, I was checking in, and for weeks straight, I was the king until someone knocked me off like a week or two later, and I was so pissed, and I have no idea why. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? This is stupid.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong here. Yeah. When we received an email at Radio Shack from corporate asking us to not check in to our stores, that was when I realized that there was something wrong. That the concept wasn't as interesting because they were giving a discount to whoever was the king of the castle of our stores. So if you came in and could prove that you were the check-in king at the Radio Shack, you got a discount, which I thought was interesting, but also the end of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah, after this guy was beating me and was king, and I'm like, I was done. I uninstalled it like right away.
Yeah.
But with this, when you're right with
the time
Facebook,
I really used it was when we were at CES, to be perfectly honest. Because CES used to have special badges that you could get during the event, and so that was fun because that was a way to make people jealous because you had badges that you had to be at CES to be able to get, and that was fun to make fun of people, to harass people either that weren't able to go or you went to an event, right? You were invited to an event like the HP Tiesto concert had a badge that year, but you had to be invited to that one. Lots of people were invited. It was a very large venue, but not everybody. Not even everybody on our team was invited. So,
well, I love the badges too, but it was like the novelty of it was fun. But with Facebook and with the newsfeed, like you, I'm on it for like a few seconds, and mostly is all about politics. I'm a politics junkie. I love it. About seeing different things that are going on in politics. But then when you got personal things to it, and I'm more off it. Like as soon as I see that, I'm done, and I go to the groups. Because you and I follow different groups to see what's going on, and
we're in a lot of groups in common,
right, right. And I'm more grafted to that because they're asking questions about different things,
and they're topics that I'm guaranteed to be interested in. Granted, some of the podcast groups, it's like every day, how can I grow my listeners?
Right, that's been the ongoing discussion between Scott and I for the past several weeks and months.
Yeah, it's like go look at the chat from yesterday when 7 other people asked the same question. But Chris Jordan, right? He has 2 shows. He has a group for each of the shows. And I'm not gonna lie, the Dudes and Beer Facebook group, if you guys are interested in weird topics,
that's an understatement.
Honestly, join the Dudes and Beer Facebook group, because one day you could be talking about an executive order from the president, and the next day you're talking about a Bigfoot sighting. It is so much fun, and the people in the group are so weird, and I love it. Yeah, weird isn't bad for anybody from the group who might be listening. Weird isn't bad. Y'all are weird, and it's my favorite thing to see. I comment in that group more than any other group on Facebook. Because the topics are so strange. We talk about UFOs a lot. And that's fun for me because there's no way it's not real. The government admitted they've got ships. And somehow that wasn't the top story on the news that day. Every news station covered it, and it wasn't the top story for everybody. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, before we go tonight, our last topic is the U.S. government has admitted it has a crashed alien spaceship and has been using it for research into technology. Excuse me? How did we not open with that? You buried the lead, my friend. So,
yeah, I go in there from time to time. I read some of the things. I don't know. There are times I try, and Chris is a good guy. He's a really good dude. And I'm happy to be his friend. But I'm just like, when I go in there and I read some of the things, I'm like kind of like debating to ask a question or agree or disagree, because I don't know what rabbit hole I'm going to go in.
And one of the things that I really like about that group, and obviously that's not what we're not our topic. Right. And we have no association with it. I mean, the fact that he's one of our CES co-hosts.
Right.
The thing about the group is, even if you very much disagree with something somebody posts,
Mm-hmm.
it never devolves into name calling.
No,
it never gets mean. It never gets personal. It's always a conversation on the topic. Never, how can you be that stupid? Which is what always happens if you have the exact same conversation on your feed.
Exactly.
You could post the same article about the US government admitting that it has a crashed spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And people would say, this is conspiracy theory nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
You must be stupid for believing this.
Right.
No. No. The director of the CIA came out and said it. It's on video.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is conspiracy theory nonsense. And it gets into name calling immediately. Right. But in there, it's like, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to distract us from something else. And yeah, it gets into conspiracy theory.
And that's where
but it's always polite. I mean, it can get heated.
Right.
But it always stays polite. And I see that a lot in groups, right? Yep. In our podcast groups. Even the ones that we get where we're like, oh my God, if one more person asks this question, I will find them and burn their house down. YouTube, that's hyperbole.
Right. Don't take it down.
But you know, you're like, I cannot believe that another person asked this question. And somebody may go, dude, you've got to go.
Go into the search.
Go look for the conversation from yesterday or the day before.
Or type in the search.
Yeah. But nobody's like, oh my God, how can you be this stupid? You may say it to your phone.
Right. Or on
but you never type it in.
Right.
I am tempted sometimes when somebody's like following to reply and say, you can just do it and not announce it.
Right.
But because in the groups there's decorum,
right? I
don't.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I like the groups too. I like you. I mean, like, speaking of newsfeed, this one, someone I know was disagreeing about something. I can't remember if it was about politics or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And this person literally threatened this person, going to this person's house and doing physical harm.
Which obviously my threat was hypothetical. It was a joke.
Right.
I'm not going to go burn somebody's house down because they asked how to grow their podcast.
Right. This is not right. You know,
that would be an overreaction.
Exactly. But I was like, my jaw hit the floor when I saw that. And I'm like, but it's gotten so toxic, regardless if it's politics or whatever. But going into these groups and, you know, and I there's a lot of the podcast groups I'm in. Dudes and Beer I follow. I mean, Chris, the lot of other groups that he has, which I happily
I love Talking Sound.
You know, and I follow, and I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated. I mean, there's some things that I didn't know, and I question about. But again, sometimes I wonder, what should I ask? But lately, though, I think overall, though, again, over the past several years, those have been more engaging, and I hope that
toxic.
Exactly. And I just hope
not exclusively, there are exceptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some groups that are built to be toxic, and that's fine so long as you know what you're getting yourself into. It can be fun to just have like a slam session, right?
Right.
Which is why the Reddit roast me board exists. Sometimes it's fun just to have a slam session. But yeah, generally they're less toxic. They're more cordial. They're more about conversation and less about beating each other up. Because I'll tell you, and I won't talk about the context of it, but myself and a couple of friends have been threatened publicly on Facebook, and Facebook wouldn't do anything about it. They said that it did not violate their terms of service.
All right.
So yeah, it can get real toxic real fast in public, isn't that backwards? Doesn't it seem like the public stuff would be the cordial stuff and the groups would be more toxic? But no, not at all. That's not how it works. So weird.
Very. Yep, agreed. All right, so I'm going to call an audible because we're running a little long. So we're just going to get into
let's cover a couple of quick highlights. Uber has been called mean to its employees, to its drivers, but it has set up a $250 million stimulus package for them on their own with no requirements. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Best Buy thinks that it needs to have its own Walmart Plus service, which is bonkers. Quick bullet points on those two.
Right. Speaking of Google, we talked about earlier in Pixel. Well, they're bringing back Google I/O. They canceled their conference last year. It's originally set. It's held each May at Mountain View, California Shoreline Amphitheater. It's free. It'll be virtual. It'll be held May 18th through 20th. And also they're confirming that there were reports about Google ditching its plans for the Pixel 5a 5G due to a global component shortage. They're confirming it exists. It's back on track to arrive later this year. A Google spokesperson says, tells Engage in a statement, quote, Pixel 5a 5G is not canceled. It'll be available later this year in the US and Japan, and announced in line with when last year's A series phone was introduced. So they're only planning to bring, and because of the supply chain issues, Google is only planning to bring reverting back to they're bringing the Pixel 5a to the US and Japan. And quite honestly, I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious to see what they're going to come up with it, because I'm definitely I have a Pixel 4 XL, so I'm definitely going to look into getting that one.
The supply chain thing's getting serious. GM has an entire factory that's sitting idle right now because they don't have enough components to build the computers that control their cars.
Yep, that was reported, and Todd reported that. Was reported on last night's podcast. So if you listen to Geek Central, so if you listen to the Geek Central podcast last night, you can download on your app, or it was a mention about that.
That is what I do on Saturdays.
Yep, and I have to do that. All right, so. And finally, this week, Roboson Robotics is teamed with Hasbro to build an Optimus Prime collectible that can do more than look just cool in a display case. The company's Optimus Prime is a programmable robot that can actually move. It can automatically transform into a vehicle and vice versa, walk in robot form and race in vehicle form. This Optimus Prime can perform actions based on the voice commands you issue or what you input through its accompanying app, which it receives via Bluetooth. The robot responds to a variety of voice commands that include move forward, roll out. Who remembers that in the cartoon? Move left, right, volume up and down, shut down, open, fire, and attack, among many others. You can also tell it to say hello or ask it, who are you? The actions come with sound effects, and for some of them, spoken dialogue by Optimus Prime original voice actor Peter Cullen. In its announcement, Roboson says it took 11 years of research and development to produce a robot with such a comprehensive set of functions. The programmable Optimus Prime doesn't have an exact release date yet, but it's now for pre-order from the Hasbro Pulse fan website for $699. Can you say ouch? Casey Collins, general manager and SVP at Hasbro, says, quote, in our continuing persistence to elevated branded play, Roboson's advanced innovation within robotics will allow our fans to bring their favorite Transformers characters to life in a way never achieved before within collectibles. That is very, very cool. And
I love that they've got Optimus Prime's proper voice. Now, granted, he's basically always Optimus Prime. There's very few examples where he's not, including in things like Robot Chicken. Basically, anytime Optimus Prime shows up somewhere, so does he, which I love.
Yeah, I love watching that cartoon. I'm definitely showing our age. And that is the tech news for this week for Friday, April 9th, 2021. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com. And be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune in on at gncweekly.com/live Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. Also, make sure to click the bell and select always for notifications so you will not miss the next episode. Also, be sure to share this episode to people that you know to check out this podcast as well. Also, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. Comments on this week's episode, we'd love to hear from them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect and connect via email, Twitter, or Facebook, especially what answers do you have to submit to, or question you want to submit to Yahoo. I'm on Twitter. I am at Kirk Corliss. If you wish to find out what I said off air, we'll get off air. Scott is on Twitter at TTMABO. Till the next episode of GNC Week in Review. So long.
Ciao.